Concubinage in China traditionally resembled marriage in that concubines were recognized sexual partners of a man and were expected to bear children for him. Unofficial concubines were of lower status, and their children were considered illegitimate. The English term concubine is also used for what the Chinese refer as consorts of emperors, an official position often carrying a very high rank. The practice of concubinage in China was outlawed when the Chinese Communist Party came to power in 1949. All females living in the Forbidden City were carefully sequestered in the imperial quarters deep inside the palace. They were restricted to the inner court and forbidden from venturing out of the northern section. Most women in the Forbidden City were employed as maids and servants, but there was also a select group of concubines whose task was to bear children for the emperor, as many as he could father. Those who gave birth to male offspring were elevated to imperial consorts, with the empress at the top of the pecking order. Women selected as neo-exigent females for the court as early as the Qin dynasty 265, 420 and as in the selection criteria ranged from emperor to emperor. In the Ming dynasty, for example, no household was exempt from the selection. According to statutes, all young unmarried women went through selection process. Only girls who were married or with certified physical disabilities or deformities were exempt. But the King Emperor Shunji, 1638-61, began to exclude most of the Han population by limiting selection to 8 banners families who were mainly Manchurian and Mongolian. 8 banners was a Manchurian administrative and military framework. A somewhat different form of it is the so-called 2 primary wives traditionally. A married woman is expected to live with her husband's family. When the husband has to live away from his family, however, she has to stay with her in-laws and take care of them. A man who thus suffers chronic separation from his wife, such as a travelling merchant, may marry another woman where he lives and set up a separate household with her. Due to the geographical separation, the second woman often regards herself as a full wife for all practical matters, yet legally, this marriage is not recognized and she is treated as a concubine. In China specifically, in cases where the primary wife fails to have sons to preserve the male lineage, family name, a secondary wife is allowed by law via the sing-song girls concept. Although modern Chinese law explicitly prohibits polygamy, there has been a recent surge of polygamy in mainland China. Since the opening of China's borders in the 1970s, businessmen from Hong Kong and Taiwan started setting up secondary wives in the mainland. Since then, the practice has spread to local affluent men. Someone considered as would receive more privileges than another woman regarded as San, a term reserved for a mere mistress rather than a role more akin to second wife or concubine. Although this practice is condemned throughout society, many men still have which can cause conflict and trauma, just as it would in Western countries. Most law cases filed were before 2000, and as of 2014, the situation does not really differ from that in Western countries. People will not get prosecuted for bigamy for out-of-marriage relationships as long as they do not register another marriage, but might be required to cede more possessions in divorce cases involving a former wife.